the background has been given to you very ably and very efficiently, magnificently. All the adjectives are attributed to you, Prof. But my sharing of this presentation with you, ladies and gentlemen, comes from the point of view of the foundation, the Orangutan Foundation. I would like to table possible challenges in the next couple of years with respect to our effort in ex-situ conservation and management of the orangutan. This morning, the Deputy Minister kept mentioning ex-situ. That is very wrong. It should be pronounced ex-situ. Macam mana SI jadi SI? Ex-situ, D-situ. So ex-situ, in-situ. Unless you want to use the slang of the American or the Australian, ex-situ, in-situ. And if I were your lecturer, Pangkah, that is a wrong pronunciation. No, I'm joking. So I am wearing two hats. One hat, I'm still an honorary Emeritus Professor at UKM, but presently I felt obliged to stay on as a Board of Trustee with many things on my shoulders now to help face the challenges of this place in the next X number of years, because then again, as a young man, I don't know when my time will come. Next, please. So my proposed content is very simple: to revisit the objectives and the mission of the foundation, to revisit our past activities as the background for our discussion today and tomorrow. And we would like to pose a question: is our work here still relevant? What lies ahead in 5, 10, or 15 years? Thinking about the challenges, and I will conclude. Next, please. More than 2 decades ago, I would imagine, there were many cries and concerns and slanders coming from all over the world, especially from the Western world, even Eastern world, with respect to the survival and the conservation of Pongo, especially the Borneo orangutan. And the reason given was simply deforestation that were happening in Borneo then, possibly also in Sumatra. And they blamed the expansion of agriculture, in particular the oil palm plantation, in those two islands again. And so much so that at one time when you walk in the city of Amsterdam, there was an idiot wearing orangutan costume going around the city council with a banner that claimed we were killing the orangutan. How true it was, they know better. There was an intervention then by the ex-Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir, and Arwah Tan Sri was obliged to give a hand in this. Next, please. Well, you saw many yesterday. This is one picture from the same place. Again, Tan Sri has left a legacy for us to follow. Tan Sri was too passionate about his 98% relative. And I wasn't that passionate. I'm sure many of you are equally passionate for reason known to Tan Sri, for reason known to Yang Mohamad this morning, and for some reason known to some of us. And I'm older than Tan Sri, but I still felt obliged to carry on his legacy for the next 100 years. I would like to live like Nabi Adam, 1,000 years, to do something to enliven the passion that he has shared with us. Next, please. So we have a proposition made years ago. We propose to care for the plight of the orangutan, either in situ or ex situ. We pledge to take good care of the health of the ex-situ population that we learn from Zoo Melaka, ex-Sarawak. We would like to create some awareness among the Peninsular Malaysian school children in particular. We would like to give something to the universities in Peninsula to carry out some scientific research to understand the behavior and the genetic of the species. We would like to facilitate such a thing. And that's our proposition then. We shall visit this in the next 2 days. Next. The goals were set. We said Pongo pygmies cared and conserved in a small way. As an example of Ex-situConservation. We promised cooperation with the stakeholders strengthened, and this morning and this roundtable discussion is one of the beginning of strengthening our relationship. Healthcare taken, studies enhanced, public awareness created and increased, and I think you have heard this morning the minister say thousands of school children have benefited, hundreds of researchers, graduate students, undergraduate students benefited, and what have you. And we believe we want to satisfy something called sustainable development a little bit. Next, please. Well, the minister touched about the fact that we are still forested. The figures can range from pristine 99.7%. I put it at about 40.37%. Our land are still green, to 59.5% forested, because we have included rubber plantation inside that. Because rubber by what's that? What agencies that claim to be forest? But nevertheless, there were some idiots in our country which wanted to see the number go down, to 40% to 30%. And I think our ministers, our policy makers, try to increase the percentage of forested area, green area. This is just a figure for fun. Next, please. Well, in those years, these were the culprit, as I was told. Possibly yes, possibly no, but all in the name of socio-economic development. Otherwise, Sabah, Sarawak, and Peninsula won't be developed in a way we saw today. Next, please. Rashmanu's head appeared many times in my discussion because it's a beautiful scenario created by these activities. The latest was in Gunung Inas, north of this place. Next, please. Well, the current situation, I think Prof had touched already. There are still orangutan in Sabah and Sarawak. I put circa there, Sabah is believed to have about that, maybe more, I hope. And in Sabah, the program of in-situ rehabilitation and whatnot is magnificent. In Sarawak, WWF, when I was a chairman and president in those years, we were active in rehabilitation, the Kinabatangan area, to bring back Orangutan. We were successful. Sarawak has more individual, maybe more. I think Reagan can testify to that. And your effort are also magnificent. And again, internationally, classification came about putting this species in various categories. And just now I heard Prof. mention at least 3 under CR. Well, that is our concern. Next, please. Well, Prof. gave a figure just now, I've forgotten, but nevertheless, the bony orangutan, still many. You can debate on this number. That's why I put circa there. It can be plus and minus 10,000, what have you. Sumatra has one. Well, formerly it was Pongo, Bukit Merah, and Big. That's all. Then the scientists say, oh, the one in Sumatra is different, I believe. The Sumatra orangutan, still plenty according to them. And the last one, a few years ago, they said that population in Tapanuli is different again. Don't debate with me, I don't know. They look the same to me. Just like all mosses look the same to me. All ferns look the same to me. But this is science, and I can concur with this. Next, please. Is our friend here, he look up to me, maybe to you. Is our friend here in Peru? Your question, your answer is as bad as mine. Next, please. Next. Well, the foundation has been established. We promised to care and to carry conservation effort. We established Board of Trustees. We established panel of advisors. We meet regularly to run as a foundation. We used to have a resident vet, Dr. Sabapati, and the magnificent staff caring. We have yet to have the resident vet. We carry out many educational activities and research activities, and we have a charter. I think a copy of the charter is given to you this morning to have a look and to discuss. Next, please. Well, Dr. Sabapati put up a beautiful book, The Orangutans of Bukit Merah, given profile, and this morning we met many of our friends with glamorous names, I would consider. And again, I kept telling myself that I named one called April, and she's beautiful. Next, please. Some years ago, we brought in the international researchers to advise us on what to do. We had a conference here. We published a proceeding. We call it Ex-situConservation of Orangutan, just to create awareness what we were doing then, 9 years ago, and trying to create understanding more than awareness among the researchers from America, from Japan, from Europe. We invited them from Sumatra, from Thailand. Zimbu Bunratana was here, trying to tell them we have something to offer here. Next, please. So far, we received good hands of volunteers to assist us here, either locally or internationally. Visitors came flocking until Miss COVID came around. I always attribute COVID-19 as feminine, a beautiful girl who made us becoming shy, close our eyes. Researchers came from the universities, but had already elucidated on that. We worked with many zoos. We collaborated with many researchers. Next, please. My good friend, Professor, Honorary Professor Mashur Mansur, did another book, Orangutan, Makhluk yang Terancam Kepupusan, giving us a warning from USA. Thank you, Prof. Mashur. His student is here. Next, please. My other friend, Charlie or Ghazali Ismail, give us some moments with our friend. So, another contribution to understand the behavior and the science of Pongo as a genus. Next, please. This really makes us wonder. It has been viral for many years. I honestly do not know true or false. And I believe this is a picture from Kalimantan. I don't think it is from Sabah or Sarawak. But whatever it was, viral from Kalimantan or planet Jupiter, international NGOs especially will really focus on us, Sabah and Sarawak in particular, and Kalimantan of course. I think Bracken may know this picture, the plight, of orangutan many years ago. Next, please. So the concern was spoken. Many international NGOs came forward, and I knew this because I was the chairman for WWF Malaysia for years. And when I attended annual meeting of WWF International, and Professor Abdul Latiff being the focal point, and my CEO, Dino Sharma, became celebrities, answering questions from international friends with regard to what were happening in Sabah and Sarawak. Of course, my Indonesian friend shied away. So they were concerned, rightly or wrongly, they were concerned. But I believe mostly the population in Borneo and in particular Kalimantan. Publication came out. Next, please. Well, Prof. Bat already told us, I don't know about orangutan, but after reading Eduardo Beccari's book and also Alfred Wallace's book, I came to know about orangutan. And Prof. Bat alluded to you, possibly there are a couple of so-called subspecies of Pongo pygmaeus in Borneo. And just now I listened again, there's possibly the fourth subspecies. Only the geneticists can elucidate to that. Next, please. Something that I learned last week when I was in Miri, a friend of ours told us, my God, at one time when Charles Darwin and Alfred Wallace wanted to forward the hypothesis on the origin of species, I was told, I don't know, you cannot quote me, several individuals were captured, shot, in Sarawak in particular. The skeleton or the, what do you call this, skin, were taken to the museum in Europe, apparently to champion the theory of evolution of Darwin, which Alfred Wallace was, I would say, what is the term, ditipu oleh Charles Darwin. As a scientist, I believe the contribution of Alfred Wallace was more significant than of Charles Darwin, but the essay of Wallace was sent to Darwin, and he chiplacked and read in the Royal Society. Wallace was not crucified, Darwin was. And I was told, I cannot prove this, that the skeleton of Orangutan was taken to Europe to prove as a missing link of Homo sapiens and the apes. My God, and it was debunked by the scientists then. It was told last week, so I put one slide a few days ago. Next, please. The challenge then, can we still facilitate this place for the understanding of the international and national concern with Ex-situConservation? And again, the challenge in front of us, in particular the Prof, Trustees and the panel of advisors, is really to seek cooperation and collaboration among the stakeholders, either nationally or internationally. Instead, many years for some time we receive slanders, suspicion, we receive negative views, and we felt we need to do more public awareness and meeting like this. Of course, funding and the dollars and cents were running out. Many millions were spent. Was it worth it? Cages are to be enlarged, and other facilities are going to improve thanks to Dr. Kevin, who is advising us on how to improve the facilities. The cost of food, the medicine, and the healthcare is increasing. And people were talking about the transmission of zoonotic diseases. And these are all the challenges. Next, please. And we, back in our mind, we wanted to sustain this effort to transform something for the world communities. Next, please. So, two policymakers, excluding our YB just now, this is the picture of biodegradable, everything in one basket. But we as scientists, we believe this is not the way to do it. Each species, may it Pongo pygmaeus, may it be Halobates lar, may be it Trichopithecus obscurus, are different. Just like they are different from Homo sapiens. They are different. So you cannot put everything in a basket. If you put nanas together with pear, I think pear will be damaged. As simple as that. Next, please. But we need them. But men like you and me are the culprit. We are the disturber of ecosystem, of their population. Instead, becoming a custodian of the species to take care as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entrusted us to do. But we have been doing something different from the promise that we received. Next, please. So all this thing is so close to our heart to do something to the diversity of primates, in particular orangutan, either in the wild or in captivity. But we are different from the zoos. I think our effort has been in between the wild and real captive population in the zoos. We are somewhere in the middle there. Next, please. Come here. And of course, we were talking about the public. We were concerned about, other public, the school children, the university student, the community in Baganserai or in Perak and in Malaysia and Malaysia are with us. Next, please. We have the charter. As I mentioned just now, I think we shall visit this. Honestly, it is a voluntary wish list. And as always, a wish list, I wish to go to heaven, inshallah. I wish to see Queen Elizabeth before she died. Of course, not fulfilled. I wish to see Marilyn Monroe and have dinner with her. So it is a list developed by us during the establishment of the foundation. It is timely now to look, are they still relevant? Can we make adaptation to the wish list for the sustainability of our ex-situ conservation effort? I think the bell has been rung, the list is with us, we shall have a look. I think I got a few more slides, next please. All right, we have a beautiful national policy which has been implemented at least 20% since 1998, though we revised already before. It should be implemented first fully before we revise, but Malaysia is a very interesting country. We have not implemented fully, we have revised, and now already with us. Next please. To study out studies. I think 2 are here with us this week. Next please. How do we deal with challenges? Again, we are asking for commitment, and I was very happy to listen to YB this morning during the press conference that he still wants to voice our wish list if he is elected in the next November general election. Good? I am beginning to speak like a politician. I mentioned November general election. That's what we wish to convince the federal government to give us some money, the state government, the local government. We are committed to the local communities. We still want to have their commitment. We want to get your support as stakeholders. We want to get some philanthropists to come forward with some money. I'm asking for 42 billion. There is a magic figure, it was in the Straits Times every or 4.2 billion. Now I'm joking here. So we want to address the scientific capacity. Can we allow more students, more researchers to come? Next please. The round table. We are going to discuss these themes. And this morning, during the press conference, somebody asked about the situation here, the water level. Initially, as many of you know, this lake, this water, primarily been made lake in 1906 to supply water to the farmers, paddy farmers. Now we are supplying water to domestic use. We are supplying water to factories and some industries up to Seberang Perai. We are supplying water to Arowana farm. And then drought came, Miss El Nino came, water level dropped. Our workers have got to walk to Orangutan to bring food. So this is our concern. We discussed this in the press conference, and all the subject shall be discussed at length by ladies and gentlemen down there. Next please. I think the will with the foundation will continue. I hope so for the next many years, and I can promise until death do us apart. I don't know when. I think we must carry out the scientific and the conservation will. We must be, there must be a resolution to reconcile between all stakeholders. We don't have to agree with everything. Either to continue or otherwise, But as I said, as long as I'm breathing, I'll do my part. And I'm asking for your little part. Next please. I think I'm coming now. I shall read the commitment. I think we have to change our attitude a little bit. Next please. The Royal Foundation again will not change unless after these 2 days we will innovate or we will introduce some adaptation with the role of foundation. Next please. Looking ahead, I'm just thinking there must be some management protocol. Let's do something which are doable within the next few years. Let's put some item for the middle term management, and maybe we can have some long-term activities, but the idea is to sustain. But without funding, without dollars and cents, it is difficult. So hence the roundtable dialogue or discussion is called to brainstorm. I don't like the word brainstorm. You really put a C4 here and boom. That is brainstorming, and all the brain will be in pieces. But the idea is to have an amicable discussion. Next, I think the last one possibly. Yes, I think the driving engine for changes comes from the knowledge that Prof had already given. The masyarakat in Perak in particular, the policymakers, and all of us. I think if we have this, what do you call it, kite, layang-layang, wow, we can fly together. Honestly, I believe we can fly together with all stakeholders becoming Traju wow. I'm from Kelantan. My icon is wow, Wabule. Next. Yes, I think we got a couple of, I call it committees or structures. We have panel advisors. We shall visit this. We shall incorporate more advisors. We need more advisors, real advisors from all sectors. We would like to look at the structure of the Board of Trustees. I think we have got to enlarge a little bit of the number of Board of Trustees so that we can be trusted. I think we need some bodies from the federal and the state and the local government. And you come into, I think we shall sustain this effort. Next, the last one, again, acknowledgement. Thanks to our patrons, our advisors. Now, advisors and chairman lies in our memory now. But some board of advisors are still with us. Some board of trustees are still with us. We need to expand them. And thanks in particular to Haji Azmil, who has been instrumental in initiating, in advising, in propelling all of us, so some of us, and the result is our meeting these 2 days. And for the cooperation and hospitality given by Haji Falina, we have brought, I consider very honored, the participants from Sabah, Sarawak, from Peninsula, from many strata of organization. I think it's a good mix. Thank you very much for making us happy this morning. So thank you very much. I'm sorry I